Of the Clean Air and Nuclear Safety Subcommittee is called to order. Today we will be considering 3 nominations for the TVA. This afternoon we will be hearing from Beth Harwell and Brian Nolan, who President Trump has nominated to the TVA Board of Directors, and Catherine Kreitzer, who has been nominated to the position of Inspector General of the TVA. I would like to welcome you all here today. In compliance with the Senate's social distancing guidelines, our members have the option of attending virtually. And this is a first for this subcommittee to do so, so please pardon any technical issues. It seems to have been going pretty well, though, so far in other hearings. If confirmed, each of you will be tasked with ensuring that the TVA's broad strategies, goals, objectives are adequate for ratepayers in the region, and the TVA pursues an agenda that is in the best interest of the United States. This afternoon, we are honored to be joined by both Senator Alexander and Senator Blackburn, who wanted to be here today to introduce the President's nominees. So, Senator Alexander, you are coming from afar. You may proceed.
Thank you. And to Ranking Member Whitehouse and to my colleague Senator Blackburn. I'm delighted today to have a chance to introduce to the committee and to the Senate President Trump's nominees for the TVA board, Beth Harwell and Brian Nolan. As the chairman indicated, TVA is a big and important institution. It's a $10 billion a year business. It serves residents in 7 states with providing electricity, and a majority of those are in Tennessee. And in my opinion, the TVA has been on a good track for the last few years. The scoreboard for TVA is rates, and according to TVA, its residential rates are in the bottom 25%, the cheapest 25% of residential rates, and its business rates are the cheapest 10% of business rates in the country. It's been reducing its debt, strengthening its pension. The special interest, I think, to Senator Braun and Senator Whitehouse during this period of reduced demand, VA officials tell us that they produced 85% of their electricity by emission-free nuclear power and hydropower. I'm especially delighted that these 2 individuals, Beth Harwell and Brian Nolan, have been nominated to have a creative cert. They're 2 of our state's most distinguished residents. I've admired Beth Harwell's leadership and her style of leadership ever since she was first elected to the Tennessee House of Representatives in 1988. Her constituents liked what she did, and so did her colleagues, because they eventually elected her Speaker of the House. She was the first female speaker in the history of our state. She taught at Belmont University, has been active in a variety of enterprises in Nashville, which is her hometown, and she knows Tennessee from Memphis to Mountain City, which is where 70% of the TVA ratepayers live. Now, speaking of Mountain City, the other nominee, Brian Nolan, is distinguished in a different way. He lives in that part of the state. We call it Upper East Tennessee. He's president of East Tennessee State University, one of the largest universities in our state. He formerly has been chancellor of the West Virginia higher education system. His colleagues in higher education have honored him by electing him to the board of directors of the American Council on Education. So he knows administration and be a valuable asset on the board of such a large entity. One other thing I should say is that these 2 seats are vacant today. Predecessors' terms expired a year ago. The previous occupants left their seats in December. So I'm especially grateful to the committee for moving these nominees ahead, and I hope they can be considered on the floor very quickly. There's one other person I want to mention today, a person with some Tennessee background, Catherine Kreitzer, who's nominated to be the Inspector General of TVA. She is a native of East Tennessee. She went to Middle Tennessee State University. She worked in the Department of Justice in more than one capacity, and she's been Assistant U.S. Attorney in Kentucky. So thank you very much for allowing me this time to, uh, especially to support two nominees for the board of TVA, two of the most important positions in our state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Blackburn, you are now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is such an really, truly a pleasure and an honor to join Senator Alexander to introduce to the committee two nominees for the board and also the third nominee, which is to be the Inspector General for the TVA. These seats on the board have been vacant for some time, as Senator Alexander just said. So it is a pleasure to bring forward these three Tennesseans. TVA is the largest public power provider in the United States. Their mission is to provide reliable, low-cost power to the people of the seven-state Tennessee Valley region. With that comes great responsibility to defend actions that are scrutinized by the public, much more so than other large investor-owned utilities. The board's mission is to help guide TVA in a way that helps Tennesseans thrive, especially in rural areas. These nominees have had extensive and unique careers that will provide valuable insight to the TVA board. Dr. Beth Harwell has nearly 3 decades of legislative experience and most recently made history, being elected as the first female Speaker of the House in the Tennessee General Assembly. Her work in the legislature with the state's budget will prove invaluable when making decisions regarding TVA's debt load and their bond ratings. As Speaker of the House, she helped lead the state of Tennessee to balanced budgets and a fully funded pension. Also, she helped lead to a AAA bond rating. Dr. Harwell graduated from Lipscomb University and received her master's and PhD from Vanderbilt University. She previously taught at Belmont University and is now a visiting professor at Middle Tennessee State University. Dr. Harwell, it is such an honor to introduce you. Brian Nolan's experience running one of Tennessee's public universities will also be a valuable asset on the TVA board. He became the 9th president of East Tennessee State University in January 2012, after serving for 6 years as chancellor of the West Virginia higher education system. Under his leadership, ETSU has undertaken numerous construction projects across their campus. Past and current major projects include the construction of a performing arts center, a football stadium, the creation of a research and education center, and extensive renovation to the university center. For an industry with massive capital investments like that of utilities, his experience in the area will undoubtedly prove to be an asset for Tennessee, and it is such an honor to bring him forward. Katie Kreitzer will bring valuable expertise as a federal prosecutor to the TVA Inspector General position. After growing up in Knoxville, she attended Middle Tennessee State University and received her JD magna cum laude from Antonin Scalia Law School at George Mason University. She went on to clerk for the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 8th Circuit and then practiced law in our nation's capital. Katie then joined the Department of Justice, first as an assistant U.S. attorney, where she successfully led multiple complex fraud investigations. She focused on the prosecution of healthcare fraud and drug crimes to tackle the opioids epidemic. She now serves our country as the acting Deputy Assistant Attorney General in the Office of Legal Policy. I'm delighted that she is taking over this challenge at TVA. She has great potential to bring discipline, accountability, and integrity to the highest levels of leadership at the TVA. Their debt currently stands at $22 billion, an amount it has slowly shed in recent years. I hope the agency continues to work toward fiscal responsibility and makes more cuts to reduce that debt under the steadfast leadership of its new and current TVA leadership. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the opportunity to introduce these Tennesseans.
Thank you, Senator Blackburn. In June of 2019, William Kilbride came before this subcommittee as we reviewed his nomination for the board of directors. At the time, I noted my desire to see the TVA continue to accomplish its dual mandate to serve the best interests of its customers, also the best interests of the American people as a whole. Today, the TVA is executing this dual mission by securing one of the NRC's first early site permits to build a demonstration small modular nuclear reactor at the utility's Clinch River nuclear site. Just last month, the TVA signed a nuclear research memorandum of understanding with the University of Tennessee on advanced reactor technologies. This MOU follows similar agreements between TVA and Oak Ridge Laboratory. These developments are encouraging, could be laying the foundation for what lies ahead in terms of a carbon-free electric generation. If done right, it'll hold the potential to substantially reduce costs and burn more sustainably fuels that will help the environment. At the same time, small modular reactors promise to operate more safely than our nation's already impressive record of accomplishment in nuclear performance. However, in order to make sure the TVA stays on track, it needs a fully staffed, qualified board of directors and a Senate-confirmed inspector general with the independence to ask hard questions of accountability, ensuring transparency. As I highlighted when Mr. Kilbride was before this subcommittee, the TVA continues to face challenges with whistleblower reporting. It is particularly troubling that recently whistleblowers noted that the TVA has violated numerous workplace safety requirements and downplayed safety complaints raised by employees. Whistleblowers also accuse the TVA of inappropriately retaliating against those who file such complaints. The NRC is investigating these incidents. Complaints like these make it even more critical that the TVA has an Senate-confirmed inspector general. All of the innovation and investment being made to achieve market-competitive advanced nuclear technology could be threatened by one safety incident. We cannot take that chance. I am pleased that the Senate has returned to process your nominations. In the case of Ms. Kreitzer, she has been nominated to fill an inspector general position that has been vacant for more than 2 years. It's hard to believe, more than 2 years. Given both the enormous opportunities and challenges facing the TVA today, I look forward to today's hearing and getting each of you confirmed and in place as quickly as possible. Now I'd like to recognize Ranking Member Senator Whitehouse for his opening statement. Senator.
To other members of the subcommittee and to the nominees, welcome. Last Congress, this subcommittee helped clear 5 new members onto the Tennessee Valley Authority. This Congress, we've already filled 1 board vacancy, and today we hear from 2 additional nominees to fill the final 2 vacancies. We'll also hear from the nominee to fill the important role of Inspector General. In these challenging times, public utilities, including the TVA, have a big role to play in ensuring that the American people have affordable electricity. The TVA has been providing cheaper and cleaner energy for its customers during the economic fallout of this pandemic. In fact, the TVA notes that energy costs for consumers are 4% lower in the first part of this year compared to last. The authority's chief financial officer reports most of this decline in cost is attributable to the TVA adopting clean sources of energy like renewables and nuclear. I'm very glad to work with Chairman Braun on the NRC issues that have helped pave the way for new nuclear technologies. What TVA has done is no small feat. Nearly 60 years ago, the TVA derived more than 2/3 of its power from coal. In the first half of this year, that proportion had fallen to 12%. That means that TVA got more power from renewables than coal during the first 3 months of 2020. At one point, TVA actually shut down all of its coal plants because it didn't need them. The Institute of Energy Economics and Financial Analysis has observed this trend across the United States during the pandemic. Electricity from clean energy sources exceeding that of coal for a record 40 straight days. And contrary to what some claim will happen as we expand renewables on our grid, there has been no significant interruption in service for consumers. This brings me to my 2 points today. First, the authority must remain a nonpartisan and independent regulator. In recent years, the TVA has voted to close its old polluting resources despite political pressure from the Trump administration and Kentucky Republicans to keep them open. The TVA must be guided by the facts and the interests of its consumers, not by political pressure. I hope to hear a strong commitment from the nominees today that your regulatory decisions will honor those priorities. Second, given the authority's history and unique public charter, it should take particular care to avoid the fossil fuel industry's anti-climate efforts. I would like to hear a commitment that nominees will work to ensure that the authority won't fall victim to the fossil fuel industry's long campaign against climate action and clean air regulations. I note that President Nolan is here from East Tennessee State University, where they don't just believe in climate change, they teach climate science. So I appreciate that very much. The push toward clean, cheap energy requires independent and clear thinking. As the nation's largest public utility, the authority leads the way, and it should continue to do so. Regulators are there to ensure that prices are fair for consumers, and rates and rules are not compromised in service to special interests. I look forward to hearing from the witnesses, and thank you, Chairman Braun.
Thank you, Senator. I'll now recognize each of you for 5 minutes of your opening statement. I want to remind you that your written testimony will be part of the record. We look forward to the testimony. Dr. Harwell, you may begin.
Chairman Braun, Ranking Member Whitehouse, and distinguished members of the committee, my name is Beth Harwell, and I have the great honor of being nominated by President Trump to the Tennessee Valley Authority Board of Directors. As a young girl growing up in Pennsylvania, I became fascinated with the televised Watergate hearings. I would watch them for hours with my grandmother. It was during that time that I became interested in government and public service. Never, though, did I dream that one day I would be sitting before a United States Senate committee myself. So it is an honor and a privilege to be here today, and I thank you for giving me this opportunity. I especially want to thank Senator Lamar Alexander and Senator Marsha Blackburn of my home state, Tennessee, for supporting my nomination to the TVA board. By way of introduction, I have lived in Nashville, Tennessee since the age of 16 when I moved there to attend David Lipscomb University. In the following decades, I worked as a faculty member at a local university, ran for a seat in the State House, raised a family, served as the chair of the Tennessee Republican Party, and ultimately was elected Speaker of the Tennessee House of Representatives. As Speaker, I worked every day to improve the lives of Tennesseans, very similar to the mission of the TVA, to make life better for the people of the Tennessee Valley. In fact, the 3 areas of focus of the TVA, energy, environment, and economic development, are ones in which I have worked and led on throughout my time in the Tennessee legislature. I have traveled our great state many times over, and I have seen firsthand TVA's impact on counties and cities. I know what it means to residents of a rural county in West Tennessee to land a new business thanks to TVA's assistance. For many years, my family and I have enjoyed boating on TVA lakes thanks to TVA's commitment to clean and safe water. I have attended meetings at the TVA headquarters and always come away with a greater understanding and appreciation for the scope of the organization's work. With my deep knowledge of state government and an extensive network of contacts across Tennessee and other TVA states, I am confident I could be helpful in the board's work. Before closing, I would like to pivot to one other point that I think is important for you to know. At my core, I am a fiscal conservative. I firmly believe that strong fiscal management is a path to investment and opportunities. As Speaker, I presided over 8 consecutive balanced budgets. And when we discovered that our pension plan was not financially sustainable, we reformed the system, and today the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System is regarded as one of the healthiest pension plans in the nation. I share these experiences with you because I will bring that same sense of fiscal responsibility to the work as the TVA board member. The 9 million people in the Tennessee Valley should expect and deserve no less than this from a board member. TVA plays an important role in the states in which it operates, and I would be grateful for the opportunity to work with other board members to advance its work during these very challenging times. Thank you again for this opportunity to be with you today and for your consideration of my nomination, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Harwell. Dr. Nolan.
Chairman Braun, Ranking Member Whitehouse, and members of the committee, thank you very much for the opportunity to appear before you today. I'm honored to have been nominated by the President to serve on the Tennessee Valley Authority Board of Directors, and I'd like to thank Senator Alexander as well as Senator Blackburn for their support, and to all of you for taking the time today to consider my nomination. In 2012, I had the privilege of moving my family to East Tennessee, back to an area where our family has deep roots, to serve as the president of East Tennessee State University. Having spent my entire professional career in higher education, I was honored to be given the opportunity to serve a university community in its chief executive officer position, providing strategic vision for that institution. Not only was I drawn to ETSU because of our connection to the region, but I was also drawn by our school's founding mission in 1911 to improve the quality of life for the people of the Appalachian Highlands, a segment of TVA's service area. In 1933, when TVA was formed, it also had a similar mission to improve the quality of life for the people of the Tennessee Valley. Watching this mission play out on a daily basis across my region gives me promise for the opportunities on the horizon for TVA to continue to fulfill its mission to improve the lives of the more than 10,000 individuals in our service area. This shared mission and understanding of how that mission can be implemented has provided me with integral insights into setting a strategic vision for TVA as a member of its board of directors. As I look across my region of East Tennessee, it's evident that TVA has been committed to this mission throughout its history and has honed its mission as things have evolved. With longstanding ties to the region in which I live, I've witnessed the firsthand impact that the TVA has had on its citizenry, not only in terms of providing energy resources, but through river and land management, recreational activities, and economic development. Having lived and worked in the state of West Virginia, a state with similar rural communities with similar challenges, I can attend to the benefits that the TVA has provided to the rural communities in our state and in each of the states that the TVA calls home. For TVA, economic development is an inherent part of its mission. Economic development is also an inherent part of the mission of higher education, for we are a driver to train and educate the workforce. I was called into a career in higher education because I believe deeply in the value that education provides to our society to better all. That passion goes simply beyond providing an education, but it's ensuring that students have the opportunity to practice their newly developed skills in fulfilling and rewarding careers. This happens through the work of economic development. And through TVA's investments of more than $11 billion, they've created 65,000 jobs in 2019 alone. That is a testament to the continued work in this space. Another privilege of serving in higher education is that I've been able to gain a deep appreciation of the impact that research and innovation can have on our society. Research and innovation drives businesses, industries, healthcare facilities, production companies, and energy providers. Research is the innate work of higher education, for it helps to advance our society and continues to improve the lives of others. This work is no different in the energy sector, in which we continually seek ways to improve energy production, develop new energy sources, and enhance the use of energy. TVA is instrumental in energy enterprise research and technology across the Tennessee Valley. Serving as president of a major public university and engaging with colleagues across the state, I've gained a deep appreciation and insight of the needs of Tennesseans, and Tennessee encompasses TVA's largest single service area by state. I believe my background and experience has prepared me for the challenging and responsible authority of joining the TVA board. Mr. Chairman and members of this committee, I welcome the opportunity to be considered to serve on the TVA board of directors and to assist the TVA to continue to fulfill its mission of service to the people of the Tennessee Valley. I appreciate your consideration of my nomination, and thank you once again for the opportunity to be here today. I look forward to the opportunity to address questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Kreitzer.
Chairman Braun, Ranking Member Whitehouse, and distinguished members of this committee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today and for making today's hearing possible under the circumstances. I would also like to thank the President for nominating me to serve as the Inspector General of the Tennessee Valley Authority. I am honored. And I am grateful to Senator Alexander and Senator Blackburn for their support of my nomination. For decades, Senator Blackburn and Senator Alexander have fought hard for Tennesseans, and it is both humbling and inspiring that they have placed their trust in me to do the same. I would also like to thank my family, friends, and colleagues for their support. First and foremost, I want to thank my husband, Joe Oliveri. Joe is a brilliant lawyer and my rock. I also specifically want to thank my mother, Karen Kreitzer, who is watching this hearing electronically from our family home in Knoxville, Tennessee. My mom is a strong woman, and she's the most big-hearted person I know. I also want to recognize my father, Jim Kreitzer, who passed away unexpectedly 6 years ago. My father was an auditor, first for the Army and then for the Office of Inspector General at the Department of Energy in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. My family moved to Tennessee 25 years ago, and no matter how far I've traveled away since then, I've always come home to East Tennessee. Growing up, my parents instilled in me and my siblings a respect for service, the importance of integrity and fair dealing, and a steadfast appreciation for precision and details. Those are important values that continue to guide my life and work today. For the last 6 years, I've had the privilege of serving at the Department of Justice. For me, public service is a higher calling. The day I was sworn in as an Assistant United States Attorney is one I will not forget. That day, in front of my colleagues, I took a solemn oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. I committed to doing justice. Every day in my work at the department, I strive to be independent and objective to do justice. As an AUSA, I led criminal and civil fraud investigations and audits in a fair, impartial, and meticulous fashion. We followed the facts where they led us and applied the relevant law to the facts as we found them, without interference or favor. In my office at the Justice Department, I keep a piece of paper posted above my computer. That piece of paper reads, "Far and away, the best prize that life offers is a chance to work hard at work worth doing." President Theodore Roosevelt delivered those words in 1903, before the Tennessee Valley Authority was created, but they still ring true today. Those words stand as a constant reminder to seek out the hard work that is truly worth doing. That is what led me to serve at the Department of Justice, and it's what brings me here today. In the Tennessee Valley Authority Act, Congress charged the TVA with a unique mission: to improve the quality of life for people of the Tennessee Valley through technical innovation, the provision of low-cost power, and environmental stewardship. TVA's effectiveness depends on public trust. That trust must be earned and maintained. It can be lost forever on any day at any moment. By conducting rigorous oversight, the Office of Inspector General plays a critical role in ensuring that the TVA continues to foster and earn the public's trust. I would be honored to lead the Office of Inspector General's crucial work to prevent and detect waste, fraud, and abuse within TVA. If I'm fortunate enough to be confirmed, I will remain independent and impartial in my undertakings, including audits, evaluations, and investigations. I will act with integrity and be a fair and honest dealer. I am committed to the rule of law. I promise to work hard to make the Tennessee Valley Authority more efficient, effective, and accountable, so that it can make life better for the people of the Tennessee Valley, my family included. To return to the words of President Roosevelt, that is certainly work worth doing. Thank you again for the opportunity to appear before you today. I appreciate your consideration of my nomination, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you. Before we take questions from members of the subcommittee, I have to ask the following questions we ask of all nominees on behalf of the committee. Do you agree, if confirmed, to appear before this committee or designated members of this committee and other appropriate committees of the Congress and provide information subject to appropriate and necessary security protection with respect to your responsibilities?
Yes, sir.
I do.
I do.
Do you agree to ensure that testimony, briefings, documents, and electronic and other forms of information are provided to this committee and its staff and other appropriate committees of jurisdiction in a timely manner?
Yes.
Yes, sir, I will.
I do.
Do you know of any matters which you may or may not have disclosed that might place you in any kind of conflict of interest if you are confirmed?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No.
Thank you for the responses. I'll begin the questioning by recognizing myself for 5 minutes, and the first question will be for Dr. Harwell after I go through this opener. As I noted during my opening statement, the TVA has received one of the first early site permits from the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission to construct a small modular nuclear reactor. This permit marks a milestone in our nation's efforts to deploy advanced nuclear technologies. Question for Dr. Harwell. How should the TVA, as a federal organization, support innovative federal infrastructure projects while providing reliable, affordable, clean energy to TVA ratepayers?
Sir, for the question. And TVA does, in fact, have a very diverse portfolio. And as you mentioned, nuclear energy plays a very important role in that. You mentioned the permits that have been issued, and I think they continue to lead the way in not only investment, but innovation to bring new technology and also make sure that technology is safe, always within the back of their minds what is best for the ratepayer.
Thank you. Dr. Nolan, do you believe that the TVA has an obligation to continue leading the energy sector in making these investments?
Mr. Chair, I do. I feel that it is important that the TVA continue work to diversify its portfolio of deliverables, and central to that is work within the nuclear space. There are a number of innovations that are underway. You have referenced the opportunity for modular reactors, and if confirmed to the board, I look forward to the opportunity to help lead those efforts and be a part of that strategic perspective and vision from the board.
A follow-up question for each one of you before I get to Ms. Kreitzer. How long do you envision that we'll have the first modular advanced nuclear reactor up and running in your grid?
Senator, I appreciate your question. I'm not sure that I'm capable of answering that question, but I know that the sooner the better.
Mr. Chair, I concur with that response. Do not have the particulars related to that matter, but I'm confident that staff will push forward with due speed.
Very good. Ms. Kreitzer, the TVA Inspector General has a unique role as a nominee is tasked with ensuring the agency is meeting both the needs of local ratepayers, but also serving the best interests of the nation as a whole. Your experience prosecuting fraud cases as the Assistant U.S. Attorney in Kentucky gives you a perspective from the other side of these investigations. First question is, how does your experience as an Assistant U.S. Attorney prepare you particularly for this role?
Senator, one of the most important things about the Inspector General position is its transparency, its objectiveness, and its independence. As an Assistant United States Attorney, I was able to practice all three. Senator, as an Assistant United States Attorney, I was able to practice all three of those qualities in working investigations, through indictment, and ultimately to prosecution.
That's better than the dog barking in the background. Are there any particular cases in your span of time that come to mind that would be especially applicable to what you see ahead in this role?
Senator, one investigation that was actually the last case that I tried before coming to the Department of Justice to work was a case United States versus Lonnie Hubbard. I think it's a good example of how at the U.S. Attorney's Office you have a multiple disciplinary approach. For that investigation, we had auditors, investigators, we had special agents, we even had folks from the pharmacy board working with us. And we took that case from a large set of facts, spreading really from Ohio down to Florida, and figured out how to put that case together, how to charge that case, and how to be effective in stopping the bad conduct that was ongoing.
Thank you. Senator Whitehouse.
Thank you, Chairman Braun, and thank you to all the witnesses for being here. I appreciate it. To follow up on Senator Braun's questions about nuclear power, one of our goals, as you may know, this is a committee, the Environment and Public Works Committee, that has pushed very hard and works in a very bipartisan fashion to reform the Nuclear Regulatory Commission so that innovative nuclear strategies can be approved and cleared and brought online safely. And one of our goals in doing this together has been to work towards technologies that present the prospect of allowing us to reuse nuclear waste, spent nuclear fuel. Now, because the TV has had old line nuclear plants online for some time, it has nuclear waste stored at 2 of its facilities. And I wanted to flag for both President Nolan and for Speaker Harwell that I think in most accounting, that would be a pretty significant liability. And as you are developing nuclear technologies for TVA and encouraging the development of those technologies, I hope that you will keep an eye on the prospect for latest generation nuclear technologies to actually take that waste on your facilities and turn it into a valuable electricity providing product.
I would certainly to be committed to that.
I would also be committed to that and look forward to learning more about that technology.
Another concern that I have is that, particularly around the State House and around the Congress, the fossil fuel industry kind of can't help itself but to try to meddle politically, even in market decisions. And I'd like to have both of the 2 board members' assurances that if the fossil fuel industry comes peddling political schemes that are not in the best interest of the TVA ratepayers, do not contribute to security and lower rates, that they will not be treated favorably by you as a board member.
Commitment to that, sir.
I also have my commitment and would note the fact that TVA has pledged to hold rates constant through the close of this decade, and much of their ability to do so is through a focus on efficiencies and a diversified portfolio.
Yeah, and I think the risks that come with continuing to release carbon emissions are ones that will have effect throughout the TVA service area if we don't get ahead of it. It's usually kept off the books. It's not, it's what's called a negative externality in economics talk. But I hope that as board members, you'll be aware of negative externalities as well as the things that are formally on your books.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And Ms. Kritzer, welcome. I did a few years in the Department of Justice as our United States Attorney, so I'm glad to see somebody from the Department of Justice in this position. Unfortunately, in this administration, we're seeing a very, to me, concerning view of what an inspector general is supposed to be. As soon as one becomes the least bit difficult or controversial, they seem to be run out the door, sending a message to all inspectors general to go along to get along. It is not my view of the role of an inspector general that they are there to go along to get along, particularly politically. They're there to do a hard job, ask difficult questions, investigate fairly, and get good results for ratepayers and for the board. Do you agree with that sentiment? And do you have any concerns about the way the administration is treating inspectors general? Specifically, will you allow that treatment to pull you back in the performance of your duties?
Senator, as I mentioned earlier to Senator Braun, or to Chairman Braun, excuse me, one of the most important qualities for an Inspector General is that he or she be independent and objective. It's right there in the Inspector General Act. If I were fortunate enough to be confirmed, I intend to do my job independent and objectively without any undue influence.
And let me close out my time with a word about Senator Alexander, who supported all of your nominations and who has been instrumental in all of the TVA nominations during the 10 plus years that I've been in the Senate. I suspect, given the timing, that you will be the last TVA nominees that Senator Alexander has this role in supporting because of his announced retirement from the Senate. I just wanted to take a moment to say that it's been a pleasure working with him. He is a man of great honor and dignity, and I think he has served the country and the TVA well with people who he has recommended and supported. And so on this occasion for Senator Alexander, a compliment from his friend and best wishes.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Bozeman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I want to echo what my friend Senator Whitehouse said about Senator Alexander and the fact that he's worked so hard in regard to this agency. It's so important for that region of the country. Coming from Arkansas, adjacent, I understand the significance and everything that it does. So again, I also want to commend Senator Alexander for all that he's done through the years in a very, very positive way, not only with that issue, but so many others. Ms. Harwell, tell me, my experience is that things work best when the federal government gets along with the people they serve, local government and all of the stakeholders. You've had a lot of experience in state government. Tell me how you feel like that you're in a position to do that in a good way.
Thank you, Senator. Indeed, my experience as both House member and then Speaker of the House led me to understand just how important it is to have a good working relationship with not only your federal officials, but certainly other state officials, and then that government that's closest to the people, the county and city officials. And so throughout my time in service in state government, I have prided myself on having a good working relationship with my colleagues in government.
Okay. Ms. Harwell, Mr. Nolan, TVA has a responsibility to the region it serves to continue to provide reliable, affordable electricity. That's balanced out, though, with maintaining high standards with regard to the environment, continuing to manage all of the resources under their care in a professional, responsible manner. How do you see TVA balancing keeping rates low while still providing safe and reliable electricity?
Senator, I think the work that TVA has put in place over the course of the past couple of years chart a path forward for the future. TVA has made a commitment to ensure that it does not increase rates for the remainder of the decade, has also put in place a series of accountability and stewardship elements that are central to the activities of the board. As board members, we help to frame and shape a vision for the organization and then to hold its executives accountable for moving in that direction. I look forward to being a part of that, to learning more about those opportunities, but I've also had the direct opportunity to see the benefits of TVA up close and personal. The economic development work that occurs in our area is central to the future of rural communities all across the South. And I also have had the chance to benefit personally from the amenities of many of the recreational opportunities that it affords. So all of those elements together create an entity that is vital for the future of our region of this country.
Thank you. Ms. Croucher, I really don't have any questions for you, but I did enjoy visiting with you and talking to you at length about your responsibilities in the future. And just appreciate you, appreciate Mr. Harwell, Mr. Nolan, for your all's willingness to serve. This is something that, these aren't glamorous positions, but they're so very important. And really the underpinning of our economy, the underpinning of the region, of that part of the country. So we do appreciate your service and your willingness to serve, and look forward to supporting all of you as we go forward through the process.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bozeman. Senator Carper.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I could just barely see you out there. Any of you from Tennessee? Is that what I understand? My wife grew up in Boone, North Carolina, in western North Carolina, and we own a farm in Zionville, North Carolina. If you drive west out of Boone, you drive into Tennessee, turn around and come back into to North Carolina, you go to her farm. So she went to Appalachian State as an undergraduate and University of Tennessee for graduate school. So we feel some kinship to all of you. I thank you for your willingness to take on these responsibilities, which I think are important responsibilities. And I must say, in terms of the kind of progress that's been made at TVA with respect to the mix of energy sources that they rely upon, and they still produce some electricity. We know it with coal, with fossil fuels, but a whole lot on with hydro, and are going them out with, and still quite a bit with nuclear, which is, I think, appropriate. But some growing,
We will.
some growing commitment and investment in renewables too. So, well, let me just ask if I can, Miss Hartwell. I feel like I should call you Speaker. Speaker. People ask me what they should call me. I've been treasurer, congressman, governor, senator, and retired Navy captain. And then when people ask me what they should call me, I say, Excellency. So what should people call you? What do they call you?
Would be fine. So Ms. Harwell is just fine.
All right, Ms. Harwell. If you had to say, so one overarching goal that you would have, if confirmed, to serve, what would be something that you would just be thrilled to be able to accomplish as a member of this body?
Well, I think it would mean a great deal to me to ensure that TVA keeps heading in the right direction, trending the right way when it comes to its fiscal house. If you don't have your financial house in order, it's hard for you to live up to your other opportunities that would exist. And so I'm pleased that they have a plan both for debt reduction and to reform their pension program. And it would be my commitment as a board member to monitor that. And I would be very pleased to see TVA continue to get sounder footing in its financial conditions.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Nolan, same question. What would be your, at least initially, your greatest desire to accomplish, to be a part of accomplishing?
Senator, thank you for that question. And I enjoyed our conversation the other day with the story of your excellency title. With respect to an overarching goal, it would be the opportunity to play a small role in the continuation of the mission of the TVA to improve the quality of life of the people of our region. As you look across the rural South, there are communities that are being left behind in a rapidly changing economic world, and the opportunity for TVA to play a role in economic development, job recruitment, and business expansion in rural areas of the South is something that I would look forward to the opportunity to play a small role in.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kreitzer, if I could, how are you today? Welcome. Very nice to see you. In recent weeks, our president has fired or removed, I think, a number of inspector generals who are investigating his administration. These actions, for me at least, send a troubling message to the remaining inspector generals that we have. They play an important role, as you know, in the system of checks and balances on which literally our democracy relies. In the last 2 months, I think the President has fired the IG for the Intelligence Committee, Michael Atkinson, for his involvement with the Ukraine whistleblower complaint. He's replaced the acting Defense Department IG, Glenn Fine, who's highly regarded. He was voted, in fact, by his peers to chair the watchdog panel overseeing the COVID-19 stimulus funds, but fired him. President's replaced the acting Inspector General for the Department of Health and Human Services, Christy Grimm, soon after she released a report on COVID-19 hospital supply shortages and testing delays, and announced on just this past Friday night, it was the firing of Inspector General of the State Department, Steve Lennick, reportedly for opening an investigation into whether Secretary Pompeo and his wife were using State Department employees inappropriately. So I have a question for you, not a trick question, but just looking for an honest answer. I have these core values that sort of guide me in my life. You probably do too. And for me, the first one was figure out the right thing to do, and not what's easy, not what's expedient, but what's right, and just try to do what's right. The second is embrace the golden rule, treat other people the way we want to be treated. The third is focus on excellence in everything we do. If it isn't perfect, make it better. And finally, just don't give up. Sure, you're right, you just don't give up. And with respect to people, different people have different views of what is right or wrong. But I would, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but just honestly tell us, do you think it's okay to remove inspector generals from their jobs simply because they aggressively and independently pursue evidence of wrongdoing, even if that wrongdoing is conducted at the highest political levels?
Senator, the most important aspect of an inspector general is that someone be independent and objective. I don't know the full situation for each of those instances that you mentioned, but what I can commit to you today is that if I am fortunate enough to be confirmed, I will do my job to the best of my abilities consistent with the Inspector General Act, and that includes independence and objectivity. Good.
Just another similar, just to go down that path just a little bit along further. Do you think it's okay for the president to subject inspector generals to public attacks on their credibility, on their independence, on their professionalism, simply because they report information that's inconsistent with the president's narrative?
Senator, again, I'm not familiar with all of the facts in the situation that you've just mentioned, but what I can tell you is that if I were fortunate enough to be confirmed, I would do this job objectively and with independence, and I wouldn't let undue influence affect the way that I do my work.
Okay. Back to Dr. Harwell and Dr. Nolan. For years, I've been on this committee now for 19 years. I've always encouraged folks who've been nominated to serve on TVA to endeavor to make TVA an industry leader when it comes to clean energy, to energy efficiency and safety. Last year, TVA reported that it was on target to reduce carbon emissions by 70% from 2005 levels by 2030, without, and I quote, impacting reliability or adversely increasing power rates. That is a laudable goal. But I challenge TVA to go even further. Our nation needs to be at what we describe as net zero emissions by no later than 2050, or we're not going to meet the climate goals that are set for us and for our planet. And this is, I don't ask a lot of yes or no questions, but I'll ask both of you a yes or no question. And that would be, if confirmed, do you commit to continuing clean energy investments and ensuring that TVA is a national leader in technological innovation and environmental stewardship? Yes or no? Would you say that again?
Yes, sir, I will.
Thanks very much.
Senator, yes, sir, I will.
All right, thanks very much. TVA's 2019 Integrated Resource Plan calls for significant expansion in solar energy of up to 14 gigawatts by 2038. If y'all will still be serving, I'm sure, on the TVA then, so this is germane. But if confirmed, do you commit to fostering and supporting solar investments in the Tennessee Valley and at TVA? And if so, how might you do that? And Dr. Nolan, would you like to go first?
Senator, thank you for that question, and I would echo your comments regarding the positive directions of that commitment. In fact, there was a story in the Johnson City Press earlier this week that talked about the first TVA solar farm in Washington County, which is the county that I call home. At our institution, there are more than 5 buildings on our campus that have solar panels on the roofs. So that demonstrates my personal commitment to renewable energy, all of which have been installed during my tenure as president, and would look forward to taking those local initiatives across the areas served by the TVA.
Okay. Same question for Dr. Harwell.
Yes, sir, I would commit to that, with always in the back of my mind concern for the ratepayers.
Mm-hmm. How would you go about doing that? I appreciate the commitment, but how might you go about doing that?
Well, I think TVA has taken the first step by holding rates steady for a decade, especially during this very challenging time. That's important.
No. When I say doing that, I mean, I ask you if you would be committed to fostering and supporting solar investments in the Tennessee Valley and at TVA. That's what I asked. And then the question was, how would you go about doing that?
Well, I think it's new. It depends on the geography of the area that we're talking about, but I certainly think that I would commit to encouraging the staff to look into the possibilities of expanding solar energy.
All right, thank you. And Dr. Harwell, let me just ask a question, one more question. Dr. Harwell, do you question the conclusions of the issued fourth National Climate Assessment and also GAO reports that state our economy is at risk if we do not take climate actions? And if so, why?
I do believe that the climate is changing, and I do think that we need to be aware of it, and further study and scientific study needs to be conducted, but I am committed, as I believe the TVA is, to lower their emission standard, lower their emissions.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I think my time's expired. What do you think? More than expired?
I gave you a lot of time.
You really did. I'm grateful. Thanks so much. I owe you one.
You're welcome.
Thanks. And thank you all. Thank you.
If there are no further questions for today, members may also submit follow-up questions for the record by 4 p.m. on Friday, the 22nd. And the nominees should respond to those written questions by 4 p.m. on Thursday, May 28th. I want to thank you all for the willingness to appear before this subcommittee today. This hearing is adjourned.